like with these mummies, you know.
Thank you. All right. I think it was Red, and then Lou, and then LM.
Oh, sweet. So my question's for Charlie, since I never see them in a space. How's it going, Charlie? I'm just wondering, what's your read on the whole like Moran Lerner situation a few years removed from it, and his claims that there's like a coordinated group of higher ups directing mentally unstable people to harass and dox people, and like there's fake skeptics and whatnot.
So my interest in Moran Lerner is not about that. It's about the specific, I always get specific, the specific lies that he told and how he retrofitted his narrative about belonging to an organization that infiltrated Twitter to extract people who were being harassed. That's all just bullshit. So that was my interest in his story.
So what did you find out about him?
I've tweeted a lot about it and written it up. Just what I said. It wasn't true. It's not. I'll rephrase that. He's provided zero evidence, even though he said he would, that this organization ever existed. He said that other people would come forward. This was a couple of years ago. They never did. So yeah, there's no evidence that was a thing. And I think he retrofitted that story once he got caught out with his the alts.
And I interviewed him, and quite honestly, I felt like the guy wasted like months of my time. And he promised me all this evidence. I was supposed to speak to higher ups in the so-called organization, and it was like a kick the can game with him. And ultimately, when I did the Christopher Gray story, I cut his entire interview because I couldn't confirm anything that he was saying.
Wow, if you could upload that, just maybe like a big old disclaimer, I would love to watch that.
You know, maybe I'll release it. Yeah, I mean, I still have it.
Because you know what, though? Whether he was right or wrong, he was front and center for a lot of that Christopher Gray stuff and documented a lot of it. And he's even put out a video where he's just kind of scrolling through like messages with Jonathan Davies and Christopher Gray right at the heart of everything going down. So on that front, it's interesting. Yeah, you could dissect what he's telling, what's true, what's not. But I do think that is a important part of UFO history there, recent UFO history, because that Christopher Gray thing is wild and so overlooked. And it's so connected to so many things. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll have to see. I think I still have it on my Google Drive or something. If I find it, I'll at least forward it to you. You know,
charge it. Charge him. Praise the cash, dude. Charge him.
And just to be clear, because this all
I'll pay a little bit for that. Yeah, I'll pay a little bit.
Just to be clear, just because this all happened way before I ever came to the scene, he's not talking about the UFO hate group, right? He's talking about something else completely different.
He said he was part of a thing, but actually, Steven, since you're here, Christopher Gray is the guy for the room, the guy who murdered his dad, and you interviewed someone who was in contact with him, right, on that stream?
Yeah.
What was that all about? That guy?
Well, essentially, like what I got from the entire story was that Christopher Gray was in contact with the Bledsoes, and was so deep in the rabbit hole, and just kind of maybe he had a predisposition, mental illness before getting into this topic, but he spent all of his time on Twitter. He was harassing many different people, including skeptics. Anybody that spoke out against his belief system, he would like go crazy attacking. In one case, he sent a woman a picture of her home and her children, you know, and where they went to school.
You know, people who are harassed by him and KMF say it's the same people still at the top pulling the strings. And this is going back to like 2019, 2018, yeah.
Yeah, could be, you know, but I think that was a very tragic story of somebody that got too far down the rabbit hole. And it started my Murder in UFO Land series. And unfortunately, I keep finding more. Like I thought, oh, I've got these 3 cases, I'll do a series. But now I've got 3 more cases of people that were way, way deep in the UFO and aliens rabbit hole and ended up killing somebody close to them.
Because, Stephen, as I understand it, and that guy you interviewed, right, was Christopher Gray almost like a liaison for kind of like some of these healings of people?
Yeah, he was sort of a go-between. He would send people to Bledsoe. And I, to this day, I could never get an answer out of the Bledsoes. Did you take a picture? Did he send you a picture and a lock of hair like these other people? Because in the recording where he's live streaming killing his father, he kept saying, they took my picture. They took my picture. So it's easy to, I don't want to assume that Bledsoe had this thing where you would send him a picture of you and a lock of hair, and he would somehow talk to the lady and get you a healing. And of course,
it was on Facebook.
He was talking about the lady while he was murdering his father. So I think there's some direct connections with Bledsoe. And
he and Jonathan Davies were kind of doing this, and also I've noticed acting as little liaisons. And Jonathan Davies is thanked in Lou Elizondo's book, which is very interesting.
Yeah, he's the one that's interviewed in the Murder in UFO Land Christopher Gray story video on my channel. I wasn't aware he was thanked in the book.
I think you interviewed a different guy. You interviewed someone whose daughter was sick or something, right?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
But actually, let's flesh that out real quick. Because somebody who just their daughter was sick and somehow came across
diabetes.
Gray, and then Christopher Gray was like, "Yeah."
Hey, Red, can we loop back around to this in a moment? Because I know Lou has been waiting a long time.
Yeah, let him go.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. This is an interesting discussion.
Yeah, the young girl had diabetes. It was like a really rare type of diabetes, and they met over Facebook. And he said that he was at the last bit of his hope, and he tried everything else. And he heard about the Bledsoes, and they wanted a picture of her eyes. So they don't want a picture of you. Bledsoe wants a picture of your eyes, specifically. Like if you ever, because I've literally messaged them to have this done, and it's your eyes. And then they want a lock of hair, or some hair. And then he talks to the lady, and you get healed. And it's all on Facebook, man. Like get cancer, glaucoma, whatever.
Just crazy. One of these liaisons of this hair was also a doxer, harasser, and also ended up murdering their father, and it was like all covered up. Not
only was it covered up, the fact that the shocking part of that story to me was that there was this email chain with like 100 UFO celebrities on it that he sent the video of him killing his father to. And I went to everybody on that list and asked for comment, and nobody would talk to me at all. Like you got sent.
Steve, one of them would. Moran Lerner.
Oh yeah, Moran Lerner.
He was on that list.
He was one of the only. Yeah, he was the only person. But Moran Lerner made me very nervous because he sort of made himself the hero of the story somehow. That's the impression that I got. And again, I couldn't verify anything he was telling me. And he promised me all this evidence, and he never came through with the evidence. And I waited and waited, and eventually I just cut him from the. That was a hard decision because I just cut him from the show and just said. I did not include him because I can't verify independently any of his claims.
How frequent was the communication, do you think, between Christopher Gray and Chris Bledsoe before he went? Because that's another element of this, too. I think he was kind of normal, right? People say he was kind of normal, and then he kind of snapped, which is, I think, worth noting. But yeah, how frequent was that communication, Stephen?
I don't know how frequently he was in communication with him, but I've been told that he was in communication with him like every day or every week or, whatever. Like they would have private messages back and forth. Of course, neither Bledsoe or his son will comment on any of this because at the time it was before the book and they don't want the bad publicity for the book, I guess. That would be my guess. But if somebody was talking about the lady and they took my picture right as he's murdering his father, I think it's pretty obvious that he was somehow influenced in a very negative way by his interactions with the Bledsoes.
Well, not just that too. I don't know if you know this. People were actively doxxed and harassed for even talking about this, just like everyday Twitter people.
Yes, people were threatened not to talk about this entire story because it was, quote, bad for disclosure. And I have emails from different people in the UFO community, like telling people to calm down on that. Don't talk about that. It's going to put UFOs in a negative light. Because,
exactly. Same with Lou. The same argument they do with Lou, right?
Yeah.
Stephen, who were those emails coming from?
Different people in the community. I don't recall specifically. It wasn't any well-known names, but it was sort of this sort of UFO Twitter, UFO bro activists, disclosure kind of people. And I know Jess Go Kick Rocks was really like told by several people, like, don't tweet about that, don't talk about that, because I think she had tweeted like an article about Christopher Gray killing his father and said something like he was well known on UFO Twitter, and people wanted her to take that down, and it's just
Stephen,
weird. Yeah.
I just want to say, telling people not to talk about something is not the same thing as covering something up. anyone was free to talk about it just because they were told not to. So I
Yeah,
think that's a really
No, but a lot of
that's
people were
not the
doxxed
way
and
to phrase
harassed
it.
Charlie Weiser, actually. And Go Kick Rocks will say the first time KMF ever started coming at her was when she started talking about this and John Davies and the Christopher Gray murder.
yeah.
I knew it was
I
coming.
mean, I know at least people were kind of threatened, doxxed, and intimidated, and sort
Okay,
of
so
harassed.
Moran Lerner was the one with this narrative. Where was he talking about it? Nowhere.
Isn't he
on
the
that
only
email
one
list.
who's talked about it publicly? He was the only one around.
Years later.
He's the only one.
Later.
He's the only one
Years
in that
later.
email chain who was sent the video who talked about it
Years
publicly,
later.
which I think is
Years
worth noting,
later.
right?
Not while the cover-up was happening. Years
Oh, okay.
later.
Yeah,
Sorry, my bad.
and some people have essentially said that Moran's motives were sort of revenge because he got caught with all those multiple accounts, and he I guess.
Well, do you know what the other angle of that though is that he was right on the money, and this Leia Prime character appears out of nowhere, and all within a month of being new to ufology has a whole hit piece website archive thing about this person she supposedly didn't know. Very strange. And people said that person was blackmailed. By the way, I'm sorry, we're getting deep. I know, but this is a lot of good info. So thank you, Steven.
I just want to make sure because I don't want to. I know LM, Lou, and I think Average Chris have had their hands up, so I want to make sure.
Okay, yeah, I'll stop. Thank you guys. This was some great info.
But feel free to bring it back up afterwards if you want. All right, Lou, and then LM.
Yeah. So, just a real quick question about that though. Chris Bledsoe charged for those Facebook sessions?
Yeah, I didn't find any information that he charged anybody, including the one person that I did interview for that show, whose daughter was sick. I don't believe that he did charge them.
Okay. Well, at least that's good.
Yeah.
At least they're not paying him to do that shit. So
yeah, but it's still scary to be telling people, if
sure.
you got cancer, I can cure it for you. The lady can do anything.
It also, I mean, it goes. I think it says a lot when the guy calls Chris Bledsoe and starts talking to him about the lady and starts stabbing his dad while he's talking to him. That's pretty wild. But my question was for Charlie, and nice to officially meet you. It's I want to also give you some praise, on your work. Just incredible work. You had mentioned earlier that you were an expert in anatomy. Can you tell me what are your qualifications on the lady and start stabbing his dad while he's talking to him? That's pretty wild. But my question was for Charlie, and nice to officially meet you. It's I want to also give you some praise, on your work. Just incredible work. You had mentioned earlier that you were an expert in anatomy. Can you tell me what are your qualifications on anatomy? And the second part of my question was, what got you into this field, into this paranormal realm, and sort of debunking these absolutely outrageous claims that you do such a wonderful job at debunking?
Well, thank you. I don't believe I use the word expert in anatomy. I know about anatomy. So this is through my bachelor's degree.
Got it.
I have a Bachelor of Science.
Okay,
biology being my field.
I got me into the juxtaposed. I bet juxtaposed to King Wakata's background in biology, I bet it's different, and so I tend to lean toward the papers and the way that you've deciphered the information over how he's deciphered the information, and just the track record as well. So I just wanted to say that, and then if you could answer how you got into this.
I wasn't really very deliberate. In 2021, I created that Twitter account, Charlie Weiser. It wasn't called that then, just the Like It Matters 3 account. And I think I just happened to notice a few months later. I created it because I have a professional account, and I created that because I wanted to. It was right in the middle of the US politics, Trump stuff, and I wanted to comment on that without interfering with my real self. And then I think I saw Mick West, some post from him about the Navy videos, which everyone was talking about back in April 2021. And from that, I started looking at, I just happened to latch onto the Travis Walton case and then the Hills case, and then Anjali a few months later. So that's, and that just, they were mysteries to me. They're mysteries to solve. I didn't think of them as UFO cases almost, because to me there was no UFO involved, or at least no aliens, I should say, no flying saucers. So to me they were just psychological cases that I found really interesting, all three of them. And that just kind of snowballed because I made a website.
No, I love it. That's
just to keep
great.
track of my research, I made a website, and yeah.
No, that's really cool.
Someone
And
didn't
so,
like
real
that.
quick, if you can, and then I'll let LM go. But if you can give me maybe your top 3 things about maybe the Travis Walton case that stick out like red thumbs as to, okay, this is definitely bullshit.
One would be, and this often happens with UFO cases, is the exaggeration. If you go back to the original